Happy team at Carlton, they are not, unfortunately. The question has to be asked, how would the incumbent chief executive, the chief executive in waiting in Graham Wright, be feeling about the Michael Voss situation? We know he's been spending a little bit of time in the coach's box. He's just come from Collingwood. This is a reminder as to what Graham Wright had to say when he appointed Craig McRae as Collingwood coach 3 weeks before Michael Voss was appointed as Carlton coach.
It was clear from our perspective that he was a unanimous choice to be our next senior coach. He understands the modern game, understands that it's always evolving, but is also a proven developer of young people. He's process-driven, he's calm, he makes calculated decisions, and as Mark also stated, he's a proven winner across whether he's been coaching or as a player.
So Graham Wright, Sam, effectively treading water. That's him in the rooms there after the round 1 game. That was a shock loss to the Richmond Football Club after a 41-point lead. He's taking over from Brian Cook at the end of the season. We know he's an agent of change of sorts. That's what he did at Collingwood. He basically flushed out the whole Hawthorn succession plan when he approached Sam Mitchell before he then had to go and get Craig McRae to be involved in the Collingwood process. So he'd be looking at the club. I mean, he's clearly looking at the club. He was in the box, the coach's box on the weekend. It's not the first time he was in the coach's box. So he's having a look at all operations. And I'd imagine he's not going to be settling for what's unfolding at Carlton at the moment.
Is it okay for him to be in the box?
Yeah. He's going to be taking over. He's got to find out who's working well. It's going to eventually be his job. He does have the football experience. He's got no issue with it. But the guy who's the current CEO, Brian Cook, is not an agent of change. You're
big on this, aren't you? That he will let this settle.
When everyone's losing their head, Brian Cook is normally the stable person at the wheel. And you have a look wherever he's gone. At West Coast, everything was about stability. And then clearly his time at Geelong, he'd be thinking, it took 7 years before Bomber Thompson, struck gold with us at the Cats in 2007. We were down, we went up, and then we had that terrible year. He reviewed it. Let's stick with Bomber Thompson. I can imagine he's thinking to be, stick fat. It does take time. How many years did it take for Damien Hardwick? You can make little changes around the edges.
That's right, but I mean, the reality is that he's not going to be there come October.
No.
And the reason that we talked about Graham Wright here is that he actually overlooked Michael Voss and chose another man in Craig McRae in the Collingwood situation. So I just wonder how that predisposition of Wright's opinion on Voss may play out, particularly when they're losing.
Yeah, and you wonder what feedback Michael Voss would have got from Collingwood, because you get feedback on why you missed out and things like that. But yeah, I've got no issues with him being in the box either. He's got to do what's best for his footy club. He'd be reviewing absolutely everything with what he's seeing. It's a massive game against the Magpies for Michael and the club on Thursday night.
It certainly is, and we've made the point on this show several times before that Michael Voss is under the pump. But he can't be blamed for absolutely everything that goes wrong at Carlton. This is him explaining why Tom De Koning 2 weeks ago couldn't get back on the ground at a key point.
Is that frustrating that one of your most influential players is stuck off though in crucial time?
Sometimes it happens. It happens all the time. It's not an unusual thing. So clearly we don't like him on the ground, but there's some times when the play's on the other side of the field and you can't make that happen. So as a side, what you've got to pride yourself on being adaptable, and you understand that there are spanners that get thrown at you all the time.
Well, this was the latest spanner on the weekend, wasn't it? Because Jack Silvani was having one of the games of his career. Lordo was playing really well and nullifying the influence of Aaron Norton, as we can see here. And yet, again, a late stage in the game, 6 minutes on the clock, they're up by 4 points. He's on the bench when Aaron Norton kicks a really important goal that you're about to see. So this is becoming a pattern.
Yeah. I think what you want is your best players for the last 5 minutes. So say like De Koning, for example, he can't ruck the whole time. I saw that was about 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go. So you've got to give them a break at some period, but you try and get them back on your best 4 players. You don't want them sitting on the bench for the last 5. So, yeah, I can understand where he was unlucky in that situation, but maybe not so the Silvani one, because I think when you've got a man beaten, there's nothing better as a forward when you see someone who's been toweling you up all day go running off to the bench for rotation. So that's where I reckon for key position players like defenders and forwards, I think you should keep them on the ground more.
Who cops it for that, Jimmy? Like, whose responsibility is that, the rotations?
Oh, they'd have someone in charge with the rotations.
Is it high performance? Is it assistant coaches?
It'd be different for each club. There'd be an assistant coach or a coach down there, as you said, a high performance person to be in charge of the rotations. But I'm with Lloydie. You're really good players. If you can get them a quick rotation early in the last quarter and say, play the final 18 minutes. You have a look at the key players of most teams. They tend to play the last 15 minutes anyway. Just grab anybody. If the game's on the line, it doesn't have to be like for like. You can almost see Michael Voss going, who are you coming on for? So they're still locked into who the rotations were. Just grab anyone.
There's a strange argument that lives in reality, I reckon, right now, that Carlton could be the worst team in the comp, and yet Tom De Koning could be the best player in the comp on 3 weeks of form. They just couldn't afford to lose him, could they?
No, and that's where I talk about if it's a financial thing. If it's all about money, is it about direction of the club, or with Tom, is it all about money? If it's all about money, you can't be losing him. They'd be losing. I'd let Harry Mackay go every day of the week, and I know it's a sensitive one because of what Harry's going through, but I'm just in totality of their
You're talking
careers,
general terms.
General terms, and I'd throw in another. I'd nearly let Sam Walsh go, you know what I mean, before De Koning. You cannot replace De Konings, but you can replace other players. So there's no way, you don't want to sell the farm for any player, but you're going pretty close.
So just on that, given that De Koning's out of contract, so the interest is there and it's valid and he can move, whereas Mackay is contracted and going through what was discussed as personal issue was revealed by Michael Voss last week. So would you open up conversations with other clubs about Harry?
Yeah, if it meant that I was losing Tom, yes, I would look to see what player I can get out. And I know that's safe. I look at Sam Mitchell, and he was brutal in some decisions he made. And they were older players in terms of club legends to do what was best for his list. And if that's what it means to keep the best ruckman in the game, you just got to do it.
I think your point, in theory, is really sound. But unfortunately, I think Tom's going to make his decision in probably the next month.
Yeah, but
So it's hard to now sit down and convince Tom, hey, we'll pay you the money that you need, but you got to let us get rid of some other players first.
yeah, well, I'd be shocked if they, just over the next month said to him, we can't get to that number, Tom.
Well, they couldn't get to 1.7. If the number
their current deals.
If the number's being bandied around, if St Kilda are willing to offer him $1.7 million a year.
Well, that is a time that maybe you just have to let him go at that number, but you try and get pretty close.
Well,